Boss, your wife's children are not yours, and you won't even believe who their real father is, my intoxicated housemaid blurted out. Before I could react, my wife stormed out of the kitchen and ordered him out of the house. That was the last day I ever set my eyes on him.
Honey, don't mind the drunk boy, she said, brushing it off casually. But I was furious. That boy wasn't just a maid. I had treated him like a brother. He was my best friend. The only reason he was even drinking with me that evening was because I invited him. When I asked my wife about his whereabouts later, she claimed she never sacked him. According to her, maybe he just got tired of working.
Yet, I couldn't shake off the words he uttered that night that my 3 children weren't mine.
Babe, I want to run a DNA test on the kids. I finally dropped the bomb while we were watching Netflix in the living room.
Her reaction was immediate. She shot up from the couch, eyes wide with shock. For a moment, she was speechless.
Are you calling me a cheat? Is this because of what that useless man said the other day? She snapped, her voice sharp with anger.
I don't mean to upset you, I replied calmly, trying to ease the tension. It's just to clear any doubts.
Well, Richard, you're not running any DNA test on these kids, and that is final. She screamed before storming out of the room. As she left, I overheard her calling the children, warning them never to follow me to the hospital.
Her overreaction unsettled me. Anger. Yes, I expected that. But this, it felt like she was hiding something.
From that day, she became unusually protective of the kids. She watched me closely whenever I played with them, making sure I never got too close. She even went as far as locking their room, preventing me from accessing anything that could be used for a test. The more she guarded them, the more suspicious I became. But still, I doubted. How could she cheat? She rarely left the house, so who could have gotten her pregnant? If you enjoyed this story, kindly follow me.
I knew for certain it wasn't the maid. I hadn't even met him when our first child was born. Then who?
Days went by, and things seemed to return to normal, until one night, I overheard her in the backyard making a phone call.
He's becoming suspicious. Please, silence him for life.
Those were her exact words.
My heart froze. Was she talking about me? Did my wife really want me dead?
1,000 questions ran through my mind. But one thing was clear, something was terribly, terribly wrong. That night, I lay in my room, unable to sleep, wondering what had happened to the woman I married for the first time. I was scared in my own home. 2 days later, my wife came to me with news. My brother is coming to stay with us, she said casually. I didn't think too much of it at first, so I agreed. It was the first time I ever saw her around any of her siblings, but the moment he walked into the living room, something about their closeness unsettled me. My wife ran to him and jumped into his arms, wrapping herself around him as though they hadn't seen each other in years. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to stay calm. But when he pecked her on the cheek and she giggled, I felt something twist inside me. It didn't look like the kind of affection siblings should share. Still, I said nothing and pretended everything was fine.
Follow me if you enjoyed this story. 2 days passed with him in the house. I had been busy at work, so I hadn't noticed anything unusual until one evening, while I played with my youngest child. He said something that shattered me. Daddy, I want to kiss Jessica, he said innocently. I frowned. Stop that nonsense. How can you say you want to kiss your elder sister? I scolded.
But Mummy kisses her brother. Why can't I kiss Jessica too? It's not fair, he replied, then walked away, leaving me frozen. My mouth went dry. My son's innocent words echoed in my ears, tearing through my chest. Suddenly, the maid's warning came rushing back. None of the children are yours. A terrifying thought hit me. Could my wife's brother be the father of my children?
That night, while my wife wasn't watching, I quietly collected samples from each of my kids and took them for a DNA test.
While waiting for the results, I paid close attention to how she behaved with her brother. At first, everything looked normal: laughs, small talks, casual exchanges, but I no longer trusted what my eyes saw.
When the test results finally came, it felt like a bomb exploded inside me. The maid had been right. None of the children were mine. Shaking, I tried calling the maid's number. Desperate for answers, someone else picked up a female voice. But the moment I introduced myself, she hung up. I tried again and again, but the number stopped going through. I had been blocked.
Days later, while I was at work, my phone buzzed. It was a call from a random number. My hands trembled as I picked up. "Hello, sir," a woman's voice said.
"Hello, please. Who am I speaking with?" I asked.
"Sir, I'm sorry to disturb you, she replied, her tone shaky. I'm calling about my brother. He works for you. He hasn't been home for days, and he's not answering his phone.
Her words confused me. The same person she was asking about my maid had been sacked by my wife weeks ago. At least, that was what I thought.
I didn't know how to respond. All I could do was end the call. She tried calling back several times, but I refused to answer. My chest felt heavy with questions I wasn't ready to face.
When I tried reaching the maid myself, his line never went through. That was when I realized I couldn't ignore the truth any longer. My wife wasn't who I thought she was. I considered confronting her directly, but something told me that wasn't wise. Instead, after work, I went straight to the police station and filed a report. The officer on duty promised they would investigate. Relieved that I had taken a step, I returned home that evening only to be greeted by the most devastating sight of my life. There, in the living room, my wife sat on the lap of her own brother, kissing and caressing him as though they were lovers. My legs went weak, my voice caught in my throat, tears welled in my eyes, and after struggling to speak, only one word escaped my lips.
Babe, startled, she sprang to her feet, stammering apologies. But I was beyond reason. In anger and heartbreak, I began packing her bags.
Just as I dragged the bags toward the door, a deep male voice thundered behind me.
What do you think you're doing?
I turned and found myself face to face with my brother-in-law. Before I could respond, his fist met my jaw. Blow after blow rained down until I collapsed, unconscious.
When I regained consciousness, my wrists were bound with handcuffs. My wife and her brother stood over me. Their secret was out, and they no longer had to pretend. It was then I learned the horrifying truth. They had arranged the murder of my maid, the only person brave enough to expose their affair. Now they wanted everything. I was forced to sign documents, transferring my wealth to my wife's brother so they could run away together. Just as I was about to finalize the transactions, a loud crash shook the room. Police officers stormed in, weapons raised. Within minutes, I was freed, and my wife and her brother, her secret lover, were handcuffed and dragged away. That day, I lost the woman I thought I loved, and the children I once called mine. But I was alive, and I had seen the truth with my own eyes.
Follow my account for more stories like this.
The end.